Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months.
Yo to both fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, we're going to do stuff a little bit different today, all right? We're on the fly trying to react to one of the scariest, craziest days of the NFL season, cut day. Right off the bat, man, fan favorite Donald Parham was released today. I get it. I understand, right? There's reasoning behind it. Chargers more of a run, balanced offense now. They want tight ends that can block. Donald Parham on and off the field every year. I understand it. Doesn't mean I have to like it. You guys clearly do not understand the legendary run this man had in Madden Ultimate Team. Like the last 3 years, this dude has been an absolute monster. That aside, though, man, it's going to be tough. It's a tough day, right? These are human beings, right? Having a speed bump or a roadblock in their careers, and it's one that I do heavily sympathize with, okay? I'm sure a lot of us have been in that situation, especially in 2020. Now, though, the Chargers can start looking at their roster and looking at, whereas some of the competition really has bubbled to the surface, some of the players that have made the roster that a lot of us were worried about. Brendan Rice appears to have officially made it onto the 53. So with the bad, which are the cuts, do come the good, which are the guys that have won jobs. We're going to be here reacting to everything, all right? I've kind of skimmed the surface of this list, a couple of names to note already, but for the most part, I kind of want to react with you guys. So we're going to be going through these lists together, seeing who's been cut, taking a look at the final roster for the first time together, which is going to be interesting, kind of going over my thoughts there. And one more thing we're definitely going to do, take a look at the rest of the cuts in the NFL to see if there's any other players that the Chargers should be signing at this time, because, Joe Ortiz been doing things a lot different around here. I do expect the Chargers to be making some moves, maybe even some trades, which we'll talk about as well. Before we do kick things off, guys, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $1,000. Newcomers, take advantage of the free picks, man. Travis Kelce, if he gets half a yard, that's a free pick right there. Good luck to everybody, man. Before we do kick off, hit us up with the like and sub. If you do enjoy this Chargers content, the small amount of time you guys take to the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into cuts day, man. Lights, camera, action.
Who's got it better than us?
Into the end zone, Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Breaking news, the Los Angeles Chargers have officially trimmed their roster down to 53 players, which is going to give us a lot to look at in terms of who made it, who didn't make it, maybe look at some players available out there for the Chargers to sign or even trade for now that the first initial wave has been completed. So again, like I mentioned at the top of the video, we're going to be doing things a little bit different today, all right? Normally got a presentation, everything set up. We got all these talking points. No, today is strictly about reacting, all right? And again, like I said, of course, I was on Twitter waiting for the news to drop for us to have the official list out there. I got to see a few names on there, but for the most part, this is going to be a reaction video, and we're going to kind of go over what these mean for the team, what I think about each position group. All of a sudden, we are going to give out some grades and give you guys some ideas of where we can further improve that, as well as at the same time, man, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this, dude. There's going to be a ton of announcements coming in. Maybe we should keep it unverified for now, right? Just to see if any more breaking news does come down. I mean, like they release, N'Keal Harry. There's going to be stuff going on. What is it, Lewis Seen out here too? They wave Lewis Seen. I mean, there's going to be names, man. There's going to be names. So we'll take a look at the end of the video. I do have a website in CBS Sports logged in. I think they're going to update it, and we'll be able to take a look at all of the players and react to that as well. So let's jump into the actual Chargers roster here first, okay? Now to begin with the 53-man roster, we're going to go ahead and start with the injured reserve. Now, these are players that are still on the team but don't count against the 53, right? If they do come back at some point in the future, you will have to make a cut or a roster move in order to get these guys back on, okay? And these are players that I have to imagine the Chargers wanted to keep around, but at the same time, they can't play right now due to injury. So Chris Collins, the linebackers, Chris Collins, Chris Rumph, the Chris's, I think definitely have have a shot at coming back. Chris Rumpf's been a veteran with this team for a while in terms of a backup. Definitely not a surprise there. Bucky Williams and Tyler McClellan, who I do believe was injured in the last game. I know there's a lot of people excited about what Bucky could be in terms of a backup, and then McClellan, don't really know too much about him, but definitely not a bad idea to keep these guys on IR. And again, I'm not quite sure how many IR spots you get. If it's 4, then whatever, but I think it's something a little bit more than that. And then reserved, designated for return. So these are guys reserve injured, right? What's the difference here? I think these guys could be season ending. Maybe, I don't know. These guys could come back after 4 weeks, right? I don't know the difference here. Nick Neiman, though, that's going to be a big one. I actually wasn't aware that he was on or he was injured IR or whatever until this list was released. I think it was actually Daniel Popper that tweeted it, where I was like, what? Nick Neiman? No. And this is definitely going to be one that sucks. Nick Neiman's one of our best special teamers out there. He's a pretty dang good depth inside linebacker for this team. He had an awesome preseason outing. Definitely tough to see him on IR, but hopefully one that does see a return sooner than later. And again, designated for return or in reserve. I don't know what the difference is here. Maybe they know he'll be back in 4 weeks, and these guys could be back in 4 weeks. Who knows? Who knows? Next up, the guys that were released. We did react to Donald Parham Jr. Definitely going to be one that's missed. I'm not going to lie, dudes. I've been a fan of Donald Parham a while, right? He came in from the minor league. Was it the XFL or the USFL, something like that, and he was awesome. Like, he was definitely a physical specimen. 6'8", one of the faster players you'll see at his stature. And I do think he made a name for himself in terms of being a fan favorite for this team. It's going to be different not having him out there. I mean, I remember one of my first games sitting with some people that actually watch my YouTube channel. We were all excited to see what was going on with Donald Parham in that game. I think it was actually the Bears game. And we were talking about how awesome it would be to have him lining up out wide, different ways to utilize him on the offense. And they did it a couple of times even in that game, but it just makes me feel like, man, there was more potential there in terms of what he brought as a receiver that we're just not going to be able to see. And hopefully he does make a return in terms of the practice squad. That's something that we're still kind of waiting to hear some news on. But Donald Parham, definitely a unique talent. I have to imagine someone out there is going to want him, and they're going to scoop him up, and it's definitely going to be one that's missed, at least by me. But of course, Chargers are going to be looking into a different direction in terms of the position at tight end, which we'll definitely get into once we start reacting to what the roster looks like now. Shaq Quarterman, the newly signed linebacker via the Eagles, I think, ended up getting released as well. That's pretty tough. He had a couple of nice games in preseason. And then straight up waived here. So released and waived. These are, again, basically just guys that are off the team now. Carson Barnhart, free agent. He wasn't going to make the cut. Luke Benson, tight end. So I think the two tight ends that I was actually, there's a couple of tight ends on here that I was shocked to see. Benson, Fisk, and then Hines. One of those guys I expected to make the roster. There's Tucker Fisk there. I'm pretty sure Hines is down the list somewhere here too. Yeah, Zach Hines down the list. The Chargers, in terms of what their team is going to be, I expected one of these guys in terms of their blocking ability to make the roster at least tight end 4. This makes me believe that the Chargers could be in play for another tight end, because I do believe they are going to roster at least 4 and make sure that the list of tight ends is strong in terms of what the blocking ability brings from that position. So we'll have to wait and see. Jared Clark did not make the cut here. Akeem Dent also. Elijah Dotson. A lot of these guys you're expecting to see back on the practice squad. Dotson, Farmer, hopefully Fisk at that time too. By the way, Fisk being on this list kind of leaves the Chargers fullback position up to Jordan McFadden and Scott Matlock, which is very interesting because I do fully expect the Chargers to be utilizing a fullback in their offense this season. At wide receiver, which right now, guys, I know that some people wanted to see Jalen Gill. Some people wanted to see Cornelius Johnson. Just be aware that the Chargers did something kind of crazy that I did not expect them to do and roster 7 wide receivers. So with that in mind, we'll continue. Jalen Gill was also released. Frank Ginda, one of those USFL Player of the Year, or I should say Defensive Player of the Year guys. Definitely could have had some potential there. Matt Hankins had himself a couple of really nice games out there at corner. Thomas Harper as well was certainly in contention. Kind of crazy, man. Zach Hines. If you were to tell me which one of the tight ends would have made the roster before, especially Tucker Fisk, I probably would have told you it was Zach Hines. He had some nice blocking upside, but thus maybe a practice squad guy at this point. Chris Hinton did not make it. Really? Michigan man. He's been here for a couple of seasons now, too. Sevian Jackson, Jeremiah Baptiste did not make it. Cornelius Johnson, brand new 7th rounder for the Chargers, which we're really hoping sticks around in the practice squad. This is one of those guys I'm worried is going to get scooped up because he does have some nice size, speed, and contested ball catchability, which is going to be something somebody out there is going to find value in. Jalen Johnson, Robert Kennedy. Wow, a lot of these guys that had some pretty big games in the preseason are going to be finding themselves hopefully on the Chargers practice squad here soon. Brett Lang, the backup center. Alex Leatherwood. Now, I'm going to highlight this for a second because I do want to say that even though the Alex Leatherwood experiment did not work, I'm happy to have seen it tried at all. Because on the roster, you're going to see some names that were probably in the same breath as Alex Leatherwood of being a bust, right? Where you're kind of taking a chance on this dude and hoping that he turns it around and figures it out. And for some guys, it actually worked. Alex Leatherwood, I don't mind him on this list, and I don't mind seeing the Chargers take a shot on him, even though it did not work. It, in this instance, represents other players that did work at different positions or whatever. And Alex Leatherwood, although, is ended up getting cut today, I felt like was worth taking a shot on. Former first-round pick. We got Jim Harbaugh in the building. Let's see what can happen. It did not work. Worst-case scenario, we release him. We're out a little bit of money, like very, very little bit of money. And no harm, no foul, really. And that's kind of how I feel about Alex Leatherwood. So honestly, didn't work out, but I'm really glad that we tried. Really, truly glad that we tried. Shane Lee, another guy, number 50, right? I kept saying, who's number 50? Who's number 50? Shane Lee out there in preseason. Looked pretty good. Hopefully he gets on the practice squad. Probably the biggest shocker for me, though, one of the biggest shockers for me, in terms of guys I was hoping to make the roster, the undrafted rookies this season, Tremont Morris Brash, dude. This guy was absolutely insane. We didn't have Chris Rumpf out there due to injury. We knew he was likely going to go on IR. I felt for sure that they were going to roster at least one more, and Morris Brash, to me, had done more than enough to maintain his spot on the roster, earn his spot as a backup. Him being released worries me a little bit. There's a couple of guys on this list I think are going to get scooped up, and Morris Brash is certainly going to be one of them. So hopefully the Chargers, feel really confident in the health of the big four, which right now I don't know if we have another backup in there until Chris Rumpf comes back. But Tremont Morris Brash, certainly one of those preseason darlings we're going to remember, especially in that last game. The Chargers only win in preseason this year with the pick 6 against the Cowboys. Next up, CJ Okoye. This one's tough, man. I felt CJ Okoye had a lot of potential, right? He came in on the international program, and I thought he was doing awesome. He had a couple of pretty nice games. I think one of them versus the Chiefs, right? It was very cool to see his progression, but hopefully he's another guy that sticks around in the practice squad. Willis Patrick had a couple of nice games, might again be a practice guy. Luis Perez could stick around, but right now I'm feeling like the Chargers might be in the market for another quarterback. And I think they're going to be aggressive on it, which should push Luis Perez either to, practice squad quarterback 2, which I don't think is going to happen, or straight up released altogether. Jalen Phillips, the safety's gone. Isaac Rex, he was kind of a long shot. He just joined the roster. Ty Shelby, another guy who's been with us a couple of years. Isaiah Spiller, certainly one man that it sucks, right? The whole story of Isaiah Spiller is tragic. He had so much upside coming in from college. He was a monster at Texas A&M. He had a lot of upside in terms of his receiving, his vision, his burst. Like, he had a lot of things going for him that just never happened on the Chargers. And I felt for sure that with the new offensive line and the new offense, system and scheme entirely, that Isaiah Spiller would find some space to operate here. But, lo and behold, he did not make the cut due to, I would have to say, elevating talent at the running back position from other players, including Jarrett Patterson, who I think is going to end up on the 53, right? I haven't looked at the 53 yet. We're going to look at that together. Amari Walton, Isaiah Wooden also in terms of the cuts. But definitely kind of crazy. I'm hoping a good chunk of these guys end up coming back on the practice squad. We'll have to wait and see. Now let's get together and start reacting to who is on the 53-man roster, okay? Of course, there's going to be guys that we know made the team. We were talking about how Brendan Rice, that guy that a lot of us were hoping would make the squad. Because if he got released, I'm pretty sure he would have been scooped up. He would have been a Raider today, which would have sucked, right? Definitely something that you don't want to see. Let's go ahead and refresh this too while we're at it. Live reaction. Anything kind of crazy going on? Nothing yet. Nothing. Christian Barmore. Okay. Injury reserve. All right. Let's move into the actual roster. What are we looking at? Let's take a look at the roster here. And let's go by position. Right? Yeah. Okay. Let's go by position. See who made the 53. Who we're shocked to see there, and who we're excited to see in terms of upside, and what position groups look like as a whole. We are going to give some grades out. Again, this is all impromptu. Haven't looked at the roster in terms of the official 53 yet, and I'll give you guys a good idea of where I'm at with it, and you guys can let me know in the comment section how you feel about it too. At center, Bradley Bozeman. No other backup center listed. Of course, an interior offensive lineman or somewhere else on the roster could be the backup. You have to assume it's going to be Brendan Hymas. Definitely not bad. Hearing a lot of good things about Bradley Bozeman. We'll circle back to the offensive line position group in terms of a grade here in a minute. Cornerback. We got Christian Fulton, Cam Hart, Sante Samuel, Tareeb Still, Dean Leonard, Jasir Taylor. I don't hate it. How many is that? One? Okay, those are DBs. Yeah, okay. Listed as DB, but still cornerback. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 deep. Definitely don't feel too bad about that. And these are more or less exactly who I expected to make the cut here, right? Christian Fulton, Sante Samuel, Jasir Taylor, probably your starting 3 with Jasir in the nickel. You got a really nice backup in Tareeb Still as far as your nickel back. You got 2 really nice backup guys in terms of your perimeter, Dean Leonard and Cam Hart. So Cam Hart maybe the backup to or on one side, Dean Leonard on the other. Who cares, right? The good perimeter guys behind Christian Fulton, which I feel pretty nice about. Yeah, dude, I would say the position group of cornerback is a strong C+ to me, which again, that's strong considering where I thought they were going to be. I thought this was going to be a D, right? A C-. A C+ is certainly a lot better, and I think gives us a leg to stand on this season. I don't remember what grades I gave out in my last video. Hopefully we don't contradict too hard, but now that we see what the roster's looking like, we can give a little bit more accurate of an assessment there. At defensive line, Justin Aboigbe, Poona Ford, Morgan Fox, Michael Mason, interesting, made the cut there. Scott Matlock, Tito, and Tier Tart, yes! Oh, dudes, if I could tell you, I'll see if I can find and compile some footage of some of his snaps now, especially that we have that NFL Plus Premium, which is an awesome tool that lets me isolate just his plays. Hopefully that's available for him. I'll show you guys some of the plays that he put down in the preseason. Literally walked on and started going nuts for the Charge. Let me actually make this. I go a little bigger or smaller here. I can't quite tell. You guys are just going to have to live with the names on the side. How about that? Tier Tart. Definitely going to be a guy that I think is an impact player for this team. He walked on and made a huge impact. He's going to be a nice pass rusher, a really nice run defender, big dude in the middle, 6'4", 304 pounds. I don't know, man. This feels like a steal, and so long as he can stay on the field and be a team player in terms of his contributions and effort and work ethic, I think he's going to be an awesome pickup for this. Probably one of the better values that we've had in a while. All right, so he could even be DT1 for this team. If he's not, then who is? Right, Poona? Scott Matlock? I don't know. It feels like it's Tier Tart, if I'm being honest, and he just got here, which is absolutely nuts. And of course, you're going to see different guys in different situations. Pass rush, run defense. You could see a little bit more Tito or a little bit more Scott in some instances, but Tier Tart kind of feels like the nice jack of all trades that's going to pan out to be a really nice addition to this defensive line. And again, just like the corners, it could be a lot worse. It's the other position on this roster where I was like, I don't know about this, man. I feel also inclined to give it like a C+, especially because of Tier Tart and his addition here. And the fact that they've been performing a lot better than I had expected, especially when you're looking at a Chargers team that's been so putrid versus the run for so long. They looked a lot better in preseason. And I feel like they got better with additions of Tier Tart, Poona Ford. Yeah, C+ feels good to me. Next up, Zion Johnson at guard. Okay. Well, is that really the only one listed at guard? We'll circle back around again to the offensive line. Cameron Dicker, special teams, is already an A+. I'll tell you that right now. We got a great kicker, great punter. Definitely no surprises there. Linebacker, Junior Colson, Troy Dye, Dan Henley, Denzel Perryman. Interesting that we didn't keep another guy after Nick Neiman went down. But you know what? Troy Dye is definitely not a bad guy to have on your specialty. I think it's one of his specialties as well. And he's certainly got some nice upside with this team in terms of backups. But the Chargers linebackers, again, look way better than I thought they would. Again, so much better. I'm going to give them like a B. Maybe a B minus, because Henley is looking way better this season. He's got a lot of upside in terms of his coverage. We'll say B minus for now. Junior Colson is one of those rare instances where a rookie can step in and be a huge difference maker in their first year because of where he's coming from, the Michigan defense, still having the same defensive coordinator and Jesse Minter, and being the only one of the few guys on this roster, veteran or not, to have the unique insight that he does on this system. It's a great unit, man. Denzel Perriman's been looking really good out there. They looked awesome as a unit in preseason. I'll give it like a B or B minus. We'll say B minus for now. I feel pretty good about that unit. All right. Long snapper in terms of special teams, Josh Harris, no surprise there. Okay, here's the offensive line, and we're going to lump in, of course, it was Zion Johnson, Bradley Bozeman. Offensive line, Brendan Hymas. Definitely was hoping to see a little bit more competition. He did step up. Him and who was the other guy? Is it Sawyer? Did step up. We'll go down to tackle here in a second so we can wrap up the offensive line. Those guys did step up in the last game, and they could end up being a lot better than they started out with in the preseason. But Brendan Hymas, he's okay. Jordan McFadden, offensive lineman / fullback, he should be pretty great. Jamari Sawyer's probably our strongest depth guy on the roster right now. He's going to be awesome. And let's actually go down to the rest of the tackles. Is there an interior offensive line listed here as well? Okay, no, just tackles. Perfect. Joe Alt, A+++. He's been looking fantastic. Trey Pipkins has been looking great at guard. Foster Sorrell, who also is taking kind of the same journey as Trey Pipkins, he's been moving to guard a little bit. He's looked awesome at that position. Really not great at tackle, but who knows what his potential is at guard. And then Rashawn Slater. This unit as a whole, especially when you got bookend tackles, you got yourself a pretty nice interior guys, especially with Zion Johnson and Bradley Bozeman. I have to give the offensive line like a B+ or an A-. I'll say an A-, man. I really feel like it's hard to get two tackles on each end that you feel confident in the way that you do with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. And Joe Alt being a rookie does affect that a little bit, so maybe it is a B+, but he's been so good and his ceiling is so high that I feel pretty good about an A- there. A- feels really good to me, and that's something that you came to expect when getting a hire like Jim Harbaugh for this squad. Next up, outside linebacker, should say edge, right? Surprised that we didn't keep 5. I'll say that right off the bat, but the guys that we do have, very predictable. Bosa, Dupree, Mack, Tuipulotu. This is by far and away one of the strongest units in the NFL, if not the strongest unit when considering depth as well in the NFL when it comes to edge. This is A+. This is A++, man. And of course, no shocker there that we're going to go with that grade. This is going to be one of the biggest impact positions on this entire team, offense or defense, whatever, right? This is going to be the position that makes the defense work. And as far as the starters and the depth and the whole system, I don't know if I could have more faith that these guys are going to rock the NFL this season, man. So very excited to see that position. Punter, we already went over. J.K. Scott, cool dude, as well as one of the best punters in the NFL. Quarterback. I know there's going to be some controversy here. We're going to talk about this in just a second, okay? Justin Herbert backed up by Easton Stick. The position gets an A+ just because, Justin Herbert is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. If you were to really allow backup to carry a lot of merit for this position, I'm sure the grade would be lower. But I'm not going to let it affect that for me. Easton Stick is definitely at a point now where I would rather look elsewhere for a backup in the league. And I think there's going to be some opportunity there, right? We saw a ton of teams trim down today in which we're going to go looking. We're going to go looking to see which backup quarterbacks should be available for the Chargers to target. Because I think the Chargers are going to be addressing that at some point. There are guys out there that are familiar with Joe Ortiz, with Jim Harbaugh, and those systems that I think would fit a lot better than Easton Stick. And Easton Stick could certainly stick around in the practice squad, but I think it's about time we go out there and pick up a capable QB too, all right? But it's not going to affect my grade because Justin Herbert is just so freaking good, all right? Running back. This was also a position group that I was looking forward to seeing what the competition looked like. It's exactly what we thought it would be. Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, backed up by Kamani Vidal, and Jarrett Patterson. Jarrett Patterson actually is going to be the biggest shocker. He was one that really earned his spot through the course of the offseason. Of course, if you asked us at the top of the offseason, it would have been Isaiah Spiller in that spot, but Jarrett Patterson certainly showed a lot that the group liked out there, and he should be a very serviceable RB4. But yeah, don't get me wrong, man. Like, the Chargers running back group isn't elite level in the NFL. Like, again, don't get me wrong by saying this, but they are not top shelf in terms of name at running back this season. However, the offense, the influence of, honestly, Justin Herbert out there, the offensive line, the system, the Greg Roman effect, the Jim Harbaugh effect. Let me tell you guys right now that one, if not a number of these guys are going to pop this year, right? My gut feeling tells me it's going to be J.K. Dobbins, but it's pretty close between him and Gus Edwards having like a really nice, we'll even say fantasy football impact this season. Edwards is going to get some touchdowns. JK is going to get a lot more touches than people probably think as long as they can stay on the field. And we got some fantastic backups in Vidal. Vidal is a really good player to have out there at RB3, and he might even see some touches independent of what happens to the other players, right? Just mark my words, guys. It may not pop on the page right now, but throughout the series of the season, I really feel like the Chargers running back group is going to be one that is feared because of how prominent of a position it is for the Chargers offense, that system, and Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh's done wonders throughout his career with several different running backs, and these are not bad running backs. Dobbins is great. Edwards is great. Vidal could be great. Patterson's pretty good, right? Just wait till you see what they look like on a proper team. Safety, another position group with a lot of competition, and we rostered 5. That shows me first right off the bat that this team values the position. Like edge, it's going to be one that is probably featured a lot in terms of this team's versatility. And you got some good ones out there, right? Starting, you got Derwin James, Alohi Gilman. By the way, I have not been giving out grades, have I? No, I did. I just missed out on the running backs. Running backs for me is a B. They could definitely be a lot better, though. I do think they are going to end up a lot better than a B. Safety, Derwin James, Alohi Gilman. Fantastic, right? Alohi is low-key. Like, a lot of people don't realize how good he is. He's great. Coverage, in run support, everything. Alohi's pretty fantastic, right? So the Chargers, just the starters, is already like an A for me. Maybe even an A+ because of Derwin James. I'll say an A+, right? Few positions like that on the roster. The backups actually turned into a pretty nice competition, though. AJ Finley was great this offseason. Tony Jefferson had one of the craziest individual preseason games I've ever seen in a defensive player, right? What was it? 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, a sack, right? He went absolutely nuclear last game. And then JT Woods, who's getting a little bit of flex opportunity right now in terms of he could play a little outside, a little safety. They tried him out at corner, and I have a feeling they kind of liked what they saw out there. So safety, really kind of cool to see them go 5 deep, and I really like the players that ended up making the cut here. All right? Finally, last couple positions. Tight end. Hayden Hurst, Stone Smart, Hayden Hurst, Will Dissly, Stone Smart. I almost guarantee you there's going to be a move here. First off, surprised that Stone Smart ended up getting the pickup rather than Donald Parham, which, if you agree with that or not, is up to you. I got to see Stone Smart in person. I'll tell you, he was really good as a receiver. Didn't pay too much attention to what he was as a blocker, but I have to assume that he was better than Parham. Parham definitely struggled in run blocking. He was not bad in pass blocking, but certainly was bad in run blocking. Stone Smart might have had him edged out there. Will Dissly, Hayden Hurst, both those guys. Will Dissly, superb in run blocking. Hayden Hurst, superb in pass blocking. Those guys were a given. But I have a feeling that the Chargers may be after one more guy, right? That how many times are you going to see, 3 tight end sets, 4 tight end sets out there, right? This offense and this team is going to demand it. I almost guarantee that we're going to see something there, all right? And then finally, wide receiver. Probably the biggest surprise in terms of the offense in the final 53. I did not expect to see 7 wide receivers on this team, but here they are. Right? DJ Chark, Darius Davis, Simi Fehoko, Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, Josh Palmer, and Brendan Rice. And I'm assuming that the Chargers made an exception to grab 7 in order to keep Brendan Rice on this roster because he would have been scooped up. Some people say he would have been a Raider tomorrow. And let me tell you right now, I know he didn't see a lot of action in preseason. I know there was some opportunities dropped by him in those games. But trust me when I say what I saw with my own two eyes in training camp, what I saw in terms of film on social media and days that I wasn't there physically. This dude is for real. And so long as he has a little bit more time to develop, I think he can be part of the Chargers' plans in the future. And there's a reason why they made an exception to roster 7 to keep him on the team. Brendan, congratulations. And I'm very much so excited to see how he does in the future. Because I do think he's in the Chargers' plans one way or another. As for the starting guys, I think McConkey takes number 1. Joshua Palmer, him and McConkey probably 1A, 1B. But it feels like McConkey's kind of taking over even as a rookie right now. At 3, it's actually a tighter race than you would think, at least from my perspective. DJ Chark could certainly be wide receiver 3. No one batting an eye. But Quentin Johnston, I promise you guys, everyone kind of hates on the whole idea because he's let us down over and over and over again. But everything that I've seen from him in training camp and preseason, like he's been different. He's been good. He's been a much different version of himself this season than what we saw in the regular season last year. And to me, it kind of feels like he's wide receiver 3. But again, that's just my speculation. Who knows at this point? And he still has a long way to climb. Don't get me wrong. He's nowhere near, where we were hoping his potential would be in his rookie season. But he's certainly better than he was last season. I have to give him credit there. All right. And then behind him, of course, you got Simi Fehoko, who certainly earned himself a roster spot this season in terms of his special teams contributions, his speed, and his big plays in the preseason. Darius Davis, the returner, he's going to be amazing. He logged a touchdown off an end around, which showed off some of his potential in special teams as well. Overall, tight end, by the way, I've been terrible at this. Tight end gets a grade of probably a C+ for me right now. And wide receiver is going to get a grade of a C+ as well. Right, just kind of until we kind of see some stuff solidify. But honestly, as a whole, the team feels good to me. I think I had a similar grade overall in my last video of my 53-man prediction video of a B for the squad. And trust me, a B squad can make it far when you have the coaching that the Chargers have right now. Jim Harbaugh, Jesse Minter, even Greg Roman. This is the kind of squad that can go the distance behind proper coaching, and the Chargers definitely have it right now, and they're going to get better. They're going to get better. They still could get better, man. There are players out there I think the Chargers would be very wise to start targeting that have been released. Let's go take one more look here at the notification, see if we missed anything crazy in terms of releases and stuff. I think we got a big bulk of them out of the way, and we're about to go take a look at a pretty wide list here in just a second to see what kind of moves the Chargers could still make. I mean, Tim Patrick's kind of crazy. I don't think he's going to fit here, but I mean, if you want a competition for a guy like DJ Chark, that's not a bad idea. You know what I mean? So let's go take a look at that real quick. I'm going to refresh this actually because this has been renewing. So we'll see if it's up to date by the time we're recording this video. The Chargers could still get some help at tight end, at quarterback. You can convince me offensive line, defensive line, and maybe corner, right? There are still, positions that could use a little bit of help. The ones that I think could use help immediately are backup quarterback, maybe tight end, because we don't know what's going on with Hayden Hurst, and maybe corner. I don't know. Let's just take a look. Let's see who's out there first. Okay. Arizona Cardinals, Desmond Ridder was released today. I make that a little more centered. Here we go. Desmond Ridder was released today. He's okay, right? If you want somebody that can scramble a little bit, I don't hate it. And I'm just going to go over this real lightly, guys. If you guys see a name where oh my God, director didn't talk about it, and we really should consider this guy on the team, please speak up in the comment section below. All right? I know the name, Bobby Price. Maybe he's good, maybe he's not. I don't know. The Falcons, John Paddock, don't know the guy. Let's see. Jakeem Grant, kind of fast, but we're good at wide receiver. Austin Strong, Jordan Thomas, and Zach Bailey I know of. Outside of that, not really much from the Falcons. Yeah. Baltimore Ravens. Now, this is a squad that we need to pay attention to. Who knows what Joe Ortiz is thinking, right? This is going to be coming from the same group of scouts and stuff that he was working with last season, so they're going to be on the same wavelength a lot of the times. Maybe the Chargers do take a shot on one of these guys. Russell Gage is interesting. Any of the guards, offensive linemen, Darrell Simpson, Tashawn Manning, I wouldn't be shocked to see him out here. Mike Ridgerman Sharp, I don't know any of these names, if I'm being completely honest with you. right? But I wouldn't be at any way shocked if the Chargers went after one of these dudes. Scotty Washington, I think, is one that I heard, but who knows? Who knows? Buffalo, KJ Hamler. And Frank Gore could be one just because of his connections to Jim Harbaugh and his pops who played with him in San Francisco. I thought that was Stephon Gilmore for a second there. I was like, what? No. But maybe, and Frank Gore, by the way, not just a name. He had a pretty solid offseason, right? or should say preseason. I would certainly hope that the Chargers are at least considering signing him for at least our practice squad at this point, because that would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. Kareem Jackson, Andy Isabella. Ben DiNucci might end up being an upgrade, right? He was just released. Ben DiNucci, not too bad with the Giants. Certainly one to contend there. Damiere Byrd, really fast wide receiver. Don't think we really need that, though. Okay, Deion Jones, the once great Deion Jones released. Carolina Panthers, again, we got to go a little faster here. Jacob Hollister, I think, could end up being a blocking tight end, if I remember. Lots of tight ends here. Jordan Matthews, another one that you could look at. Mike Boone, running back. Wasn't he a fullback at some point? That could be one that we look at. Rudy Ford. Okay, Chicago Bears. Not interested in Austin Reed. Carlson, Greg Stroman, Brett Rippin could certainly be one that we look at. Tommy Sweeney, I've heard. Again, these are a lot of guys that we're kind of stretching on here, man. Defensive line, offensive line. Okay, moving on. Cincinnati Bengals. We've got to move a little faster. I don't want this video to be too long. But there are some names on here that if they pop off the page, and again, you guys, you can pause it and you go through and really skim it down. But I'm really going to look at players that pop off the page for me. Okay? Nobody really here. Cleveland Browns. Jermaine Ifedi. He's a really nice like swing guard. He could be awesome. Siaki Ika. This guy could be an awesome depth interior defensive lineman. I like him. I actually like a lot of these guys from the Cleveland Browns. And speaking of Cleveland Browns, before we move on from them, which I think those are going to be the main guys, they kept, I think, 4 quarterbacks on their roster with the intent of trading, right? They currently have probably the favorite for the Chargers to trade for right now in Hentley. And I do believe that's actually something that could happen with the Chargers. So keep that in mind, okay? Dallas Cowboys, Carl Lawson, interesting. Wide receivers, not really. Tight end, Alec Holler, no. Defensive line. There's another Fayoko. Who knows at this point? Let's move to the Broncos. Not really. Detroit Lions. Nate Sudfeld could be a not bad backup quarterback. Malik Jefferson, maybe. Green Bay Packers. Caleb Jones. That's about it. 2 Caleb Joneses. Houston Texans. Mike Ford. Mike Ford? I felt like he just got an extension. Desmond King out there at safety, which is interesting. Indianapolis Colts. Penix, Stills. Yeah, nothing really there. Ronnie Harrison, really? Safety out there, Ronnie. I know with Rodney Harrison, it's easy for us to be like, oh, look. But like, I thought he was pretty good. He was a Brown, right? Where was he now? Colts? Who knows? Jacksonville Jaguars. Darrell Williams, we know of. Man, they had a whole lot of cuts. Holy crap, dude. You guys got to help me out with the Jags. I'm not really seeing Tavon Campbell. Maybe he was a Charger, right? Denzel Mims, kind of interesting. He was cut. There's a lot of players here, dude. CJ Beathard wouldn't be bad. Adrian Amos. I think I feel good at safety, but holy crap. Look at these names, dude. Look at the number of players cut from the Jags. Actually kind of insane. The Chiefs, also a lot of names. Kadarius Toney, I'll be honest, not very interested. The hand's a problem. We're pretty good at wide receiver right now. Irv Smith, I mean, maybe, right? Ian Book, wasn't he with the Saints? He's a maybe. Yeah, I think those are the ones right there, dude. Not bad. Raiders, Nathan Peterman, for the lulz, the memes. This is the one. Chargers. We're already good there. Los Angeles Rams. Boston Scott at one point. Rams could be an interesting one. Who did they let go? Grant Miller. Alec Lindstrom. How old is he? He'd be a backup center, right? I mean, I would consider that. Really? Is there something up? I know that name. Interesting. Gary Jacobs. Okay, Miami Dolphins, Chris Brooks, Mike White. Again, another maybe upgrade at backup quarterback. Again, he's not going to be phenomenal, but I think it's still an upgrade over Easton Stick, right? Willie Snead. Okay, Minnesota Vikings. Myles Gaskin. That's not a bad backup running back. Of course, we're probably looking at training camp guys, or I should say practice squad guys now. Matt Corral. Tight ends, Neil. Trey Knox. Okay. Offensive line. Lots. And defensive linemen. Lots to look at here, man. None of them really popping off the page for me, but hey, take a look. New England Patriots. Let's see. Bailey Zappi. Not my favorite, be honest there, but I think he would still be an upgrade. Again, you guys are going to have to help me out here. We're not going to be able to look at all of these. So many for the Patriots as well. Not very many that are popping off the page for me either. Equanimous St. Brown. That one's kind of fun. He's Sun God's brother. Or relative, not quite sure. New York Giants. Trey Herndon. Kind of recognizable. Allen Robinson. Wow. Didn't make the cut there. Miles Boykin. Wow. Jack Stoll. Fullback Jacob Johnson. Where do I know that name from? Joshua Kelly was cut there, a former Charger. Offensive line, defensive line. Okay, New York Jets. Not much to say there. Philadelphia Eagles. CJ Uzama. That could be an interesting one. Will Grier could be interesting as well. I kind of like those two. You guys let me know what you think of that. I Will Grier, CJ Uzama. I think I'd be about that. Pittsburgh Steelers. Quez Watkins. Really? Let's see. Defensive backs. Everett. Kalen Barnes. Interesting. Okay. Niners. This will be one that's going to get a lot of attention. Samuel Womack, I feel like, got a little bit of praise, right? Some of the tight ends could be interesting. Cameron Latu, Brendan Willis. I mean, who knows? They feel like they would be part of the same sort of system that Harbaugh likes. Chosen Robinson. So this is Robbie Anderson, right? Is Robbie Anderson really fast dude? Could be in contention there. I don't know. Seattle Seahawks. Dwayne Eskridge is gone. Holy crap. Gibbs. Michael Ezike. He was with the Chargers, right? He's from UCLA, I think. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sterling. Eric Banks. Okay. Randy Gregory. What? Tennessee Titans. Caleb Farley. This is another one. I just tweeted about this. Why not just adopt all of the poor, unfortunate Tennessee Titan defensive backs and put them under the wing. Put them under the wing of Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers and see how many of them we can rescue. Right? That would be kind of interesting. He was a first rounder, man. I think it was injury that kind of kept him away. Like, he could be awesome. I don't know. I'm actually kind of about that one. So far, him and CJ Uzama and Will Grier are kind of my favorites in terms of a potential signing for the Chargers. Let's see. Washington Commanders. Holy crap. And they're the last ones, right? Okay. Let's see. Anybody crazy here? Sam Hartman would be interesting, right? The rookie out of Notre Dame. Treat Castro Fields was not too bad. Did they have a quarterback? No quarterbacks. Martavis Bryant, man, they had some okay dudes in there. I don't know. You guys let me know. Interesting. Kind of fun. We don't normally react to other teams on this channel, so that was kind of, not a first, but maybe one, once in every year or two that we'll do something like that. But hey, that was kind of cool. And there are guys out there that I think are worth signing, and there's probably still more to be announced at this point. The deadline has come and gone, though, so as far as the 53 for every team, everything kind of feels set. As far as the movement, nothing is certain right now because, again, Joe Ortiz, he's done a lot this preseason. He's done a lot of roster movement in terms of, the backups in the depth, and I would fully expect for him to be in the conversation for a quarterback trade. Tight end is one that I kind of have a feeling on that they're going to move on. And then maybe a little bit more help at corner, defensive line, stuff like that. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Man, 43 minutes. I apologize. I'm sorry. We're trying out here. But I think also pretty cool to get the reaction and understand where we're at and where we can end up being here in the next couple of weeks. Because kickoff is in, 2 weeks? Let's go, baby! Chargers football next week. Super excited, man. And cool to see the next step taken by this new team in Jim Harbaugh. Lastly, the last thing I'll say right now, too. I know a lot of people were having issue getting into NFL Game Pass this past weekend, but fortunately, ExpressVPN emailed me, and they were able to sort it out. It was something that the Zone was trying to do, that ExpressVPN figured it out, and now we're back online. I was actually watching NFL Network this morning, so if you guys still want the cheapest way to watch games this year, please still check it out. It's definitely one that will save you a lot of money if you're willing to jump through just a couple of hoops, kind of set and forget, and then log in every week to watch the game. Much love to you guys. We'll catch you next time. As always, bolt up, stay frosty. Congratulations to the Chargers that made the roster, man. Brendan Rice will be watching your career with great interest.